kind of getting more information, bits and pieces. I'm going to tie in a bunch. I got to do 2 separate videos, and part of it will be what I covered here. But I wanted to start off with a few questions that I've just been kind of jotting down on why we don't have the answers. And hopefully, if this investigation is done good, what we should find out. So obviously, gun-free zones is a big problem. We just had another shooting right after this up in Oklahoma. Doctor messed up a guy's surgery. He had pain, couldn't fix it, money, whatever. He went in there with a note and said, I'm going to kill the doctor and anybody gets my way. He ends up killing those 5 people up in the hospital, 2 doctors, a nurse, and I think someone else. Then he kills himself. So, and again, a no-gun zone. Gun-free zones get people killed. It turns them into victims, and it's a perfect place for people who want to kill to go to because they know nobody's armed. Not only is it good if you want to go in and shoot somebody, but a gun-free zone is good if I want to go in with a knife or acid or a bat. I know nobody has a gun. That's just tactically so unsound to announce to your enemy, hey, this area over here, no guns, no defense. It's open season. Knock yourself out. Great strategy, liberal left-wing idiots. All right, so the marshal, when they arrested that woman out front for assisting, that wasn't a federal crime. I hope we get an answer to that. Why was a U.S. Marshal there, and why was he arresting Texas citizens for non-federal crimes? I'd like to get an answer to that. Somebody made a comment, the new motto is the thin blue line should be, these colors don't run, .. into schools to save children. I thought that was pretty appropriate. Legal no duty act. Again, the Supreme Court ruled cops don't have to protect you. There's no duty act. I'm not sure why we have cops and why they have guns. If they don't have a duty to protect us, why are we paying millions and billions of tax dollars to send them to training, to arm them, to give them all this equipment, all these flashy lights, all these trucks, and all these cool guns, if they have no duty to protect us? That is the most craziest ruling I've ever heard in my life. Congress could pass a law saying if you take the job as a cop, you take the money, you take the benefits, then you take the rest, and you have a duty to act and protect. Hell, there used to be things that where you had to help a citizen. We had laws to where you couldn't deny somebody assistance if they needed. There's still a law that if a cop's asks you for help, you have to help them, but they don't have to help you. What kind of crazy crap is that? I'd like to have an answer to that. Let's see here. How many kids were wounded? We haven't got anything about how many kids were wounded yet. I want to know how many lived, and I want to know where the autopsies are at, so I know how many kids would have lived if the cops didn't wait for an hour and 15 or 20 minutes to go in. How many kids could they have saved? Because I'll show you in a document that's in Texas training and all active shooter training, the main objective is police to go in, kill the suspect, to stop the killing. You can't help people, you can't save people till you disable, kill, disarm the killer. So that's why it's a priority. These cops didn't do that. It's the chief's fault. It's the federal's fault. It's the lack of communicate. We need more people. We need more equipment. It's always the same thing. Okay. How many lived in the classroom? I still don't know that. How many kids were in the classroom? How many lived and how many died? Because he barricaded himself. When he barricaded, they have a body count. They know how many kids got out and how many kids were in there and how many kids died by him. So I want to know that. It said when they went to the classroom, I read an article, there were bodies as they were making their way to the classroom. So it sounds like he killed kids before he got to classroom. I'd like to know that. Hopefully this crack investigation by Department of Public Safety, the Texas Rangers, ooh, those guys are good. Hopefully we'll get all these answers. I doubt it. Okay. Did the cops' rounds hit any kids when they went in and fired? I'd like to know that. Autopsy for the kids. I want to know how many times the kids were shot. Were they shot in the head? Were they shot in the body? Were they shot in the arm? If kids are dying and they only had a leg wound, that means they bled out. That's why it's important to know the autopsy. I know somebody would be like, that's very private and it's personal and nobody... Bullshit. This isn't private. This is a public investigation because public officials failed the public. So I don't want to hear all this classified. We don't need to release that shit. That's all bullshit. How many kids went to the hospital? I haven't heard that. I don't know how many kids went to the hospital, were treated, how many's in critical, how many's in... We haven't got that information nowhere. Not that I've seen. On the 911 calls, I want to know, did the kids hang up or did the dispatcher hang up? And I want to know what was said. I want to know what the kids were told. I want to know what was in a kid's mind when they're calling asking for help. That's very emotional, and that's going to really raise what these kids' mind frame were in there. And that's what people need to know, because we keep focusing on the cops and the equipment and the guy that won't talk and it was confused. We're focusing on everything except what those 19 kids felt and went through. Pure hell for an hour and a half, hour, 15 minutes, however long they waited, while the coward cops were out there waiting for more equipment, while the coward cops were worried about officer safety, planning, tactics, all these other crap excuses I'm hearing. Okay? I want to know why we're not seeing any pictures of the crime scene. When Ukraine war started, Congress gave a special viewing for a film sent over by Ukraine president, and it showed kids dying on hospital. It showed bloody kids being put on gurneys. It showed dead kids. And you know what? It's the only video I've ever posted on YouTube where YouTube didn't require blurring. They allowed you to post those videos with no restriction. You could share all the war footage of Ukraine, because some reason our country went crazy on how we have to save a country that pretty much does nothing for us, and we're spending billions of dollars and we can't secure our own border. But I'll get to that. All right, so now let's get to a couple other things. Okay, so first, there was a former Uvalde police officer sentenced to probation for child sex. This guy was a cop in Uvalde. Again, I'm getting to this because it goes to standards, quota hiring people so people feel good about themselves, telling a 100-pound woman that can barely carry a gun that she can do anything a police officer can do. So we hire them to make people feel good in the name of a social freaking experiment, and it gets people killed. The cops that waited outside were cowards. They were scared. They didn't have the balls to go in. They didn't have the balls to disobey a bullshit order, and they stood out in a hallway and listened 6 times for rounds to be fired in that room while they were out in the hallway, and they could have went in and stopped them. And now they're claiming, we thought it was a hostage. We thought it turned into negotiation. I haven't heard anything about negotiation, but I'll get to that in a second. So here is a former police officer, who's in charge of a school explorer program working with girls and boys, and he's sleeping with a 15-year-old multiple times. Okay? He doesn't even go to prison. He gets probation. Are you kidding me? Yeah, you cops keep wanting to pick on me, and when I say cops are earning the hate, when I say cops have no standards, cops don't enforce, they don't clean their own bullshit up. Instead, they defend it with this blue line bullshit. You wonder why people are fed up and don't trust cops and don't believe cops? This is why. A cop screwing a 15-year-old working at a school. Why was he hired? Why was he kept? Why was he allowed to do this? Because all the other cops were like, hey, Code Blue, yeah, I know he's sleeping with her. I don't want to say nothing. I can't I can't call another cop out. I might be called a traitor or a turncoat, and I have to support the blue line, even though we have cops molesting and sleeping with 15-year-old kids. Rick, I'm sure she was cooperating. It doesn't matter. It's called statutory rape for a reason. They had to make statute because you cannot consent. You're not of age. Kids don't see around corners. They don't see dangers. That's why it's up to responsible adults to protect them, like the cops didn't do that cowards that waited in the hallway. But, all right, let's move on to the next one here. So I wanted to cover where this money thing keeps coming up, and I'm hearing a lot of excuses kind of justifying it. And I kind of typed up something. I'll slide in a little slide here. So where did this guy, an 18-year-old kid, no driver's license, living with grandma, having a problem with the cops? Apparently, he was arrested. I cannot confirm or find anything. Hopefully, the crack investigation by DPS, the Texas Rangers, will clear that up. But supposedly, he was already arrested 4 years ago for threatening to do something or violence at a school. If that's the case, the background should have caught that when he bought the guns. Because remember, he passed a government background when he bought the guns. We keep wanting to blame the gun, but government failure on every turn of this entire case. So, 18-year-old. No job. Maybe he works at Wendy's. I don't know how long he works. I don't know how much he's making. Somebody's saying, well, he could have saved the money, Rick. Well, he stole his grandmother's credit card and used that. No. Gun stores do not take credit cards from third parties to buy guns. If you're buying a gun, you pay cash, you use your credit card, you fill out the paperwork, it's all documented. I don't want to hear this, well, he just used his grandmother's. We got all these excuses instead of saying, you know what, government? You're freaking hired and you spend a lot of money investigating. We the people, want answers. And why aren't we getting it? Because the Texas Rangers are screwing up warrants. But I'll get to that. So we got a rifle, a Cyberdynamics rifle, $1,200, let's just say. We have a Daniel Defense. Some people are saying it's $3 grand, 27. Some people are saying it's $2 grand. I put 2,500. Okay. We got over 60 mags because he had all these magazines. At $15, most mags are $20. But let's just say they're at $15 a piece. That's another 900 a grand. Then he had 1,640 rounds, $1 a round. You used to be able to get rounds for 50 cents a round. People that ain't buying ammo right now have no idea. You can't find 50 cents a round, 5.56. It's usually $1 a round or more. Then you add shipping. Then if you can get that much, most stores don't have that much on a shelf, and most of them don't allow you to buy that much. But somehow this kid was able to get this after he bought 2 long rifles within a few days. Okay, he's got a handgun. We're not being told what model it is. We're not even being told if it was loaded or if he had ammo or if he fired it. We don't know. I'm sure the crack investigation from DPS will clear that up. Then we have ammo for the handgun. I put 200. A Glock, you can probably get a Glock for 600. Maybe they're more, maybe less, depending on what kind of sights and what you get on, how many magazines, etc. Then he had a plate carrier vest that the cops were saying, oh, we thought he had a bulletproof vest. That's why we were scared. That's why we waited for more people. More excuses for the cowards. He didn't even have a bulletproof vest. He had a plate carrier vest that looked like a bulletproof vest, but there were no plates in it. Plates are expensive. So is the vest. Just the vest is about $200. So adding all that up, I got around $7,200. You add tax in Texas, that's another $400. Where did this kid get $8 grand in 2 or 3 days to buy all this? I just don't get it. Hopefully, the crack DPS investigation will clear that up. So this is an interesting piece that Biden evidently wasn't briefed on, and he didn't address when he came down here. But there are so many lockdowns at this school because they're only about 50 miles away from the border, and border people are always getting chased into the town. And when they run from the cops, they run near or by a school, so the school has to go into lockdown. So lockdowns are so common at this school that a lot of parents and teachers didn't even think it was a big deal. Probably why the back door was propped open with a rock. Oh, no, Rick. She closed it. The lock didn't work. Okay, whatever the story is, the shooter gained access to a building that's supposed to be locked. Government failure number 147 in this freaking case. And now we have government failure of the border, allowing so many illegals to come across with fentanyl, drugs, guns, sex offenders, terrorists, people plotting to kill an ex-president. We got all this coming across the border. Nobody's complaining about that. We need to get guns from good people. We need more gun control because that's the problem. Not the 200,000 a month coming across the border, bringing all these problems and issues. No, that's not the problem, Rick. It's the magazines that hold a lot of rounds and those mean semi-automatic rifles. That'll keep you safe, you idiots who are buying that shit. There's just article after article about illegals screwing up and causing problems. But you know what? We don't want to talk about that, Rick, because, you know, it's those damn guns are the problem. Here's a headline I haven't seen. Gunman emerged from classroom closet firing at Border Patrol agents. I haven't heard that. I heard they engaged them and they took rounds when they went in, but we haven't really seen a body cam. But you think after an hour in a hallway they had time to maybe get a body cam and turn a body cam on when they entered so we would know what happened? If you want to go watch, Fox has an interview of the mayor of this city explaining all the lockdowns and problems with the border. And I know people don't want to say, Rick, why are you making it about the border when the kids got killed and it's about guns? It's all entitled. It's slowed down the response. They're so used to being in lockdown, the lockdown didn't work. When you do something for so long and you ignore it and you think it's fake or it's just another illegal running across the border, running from the police, you get laxed. It's all government failure. Stop blaming the gun. Okay, so now we have the first warrant that was issued for the cell phone of the shooter. And this news agency did their freaking job and they got a copy. And now I have a copy. I'm going to make a separate video and go over that warrant. But in the warrant, evidently, DPS screwed up, did some cutting and pasting and put the wrong guys. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the incompetence of the so-called elite Texas Rangers DPS, the highest law enforcement agency in the land of Texas. Wow.
Yeah, here is that search warrant, guys, giving the Rangers authority to seize and download the contents of the cell phone belonging to alleged gunman Salvador Ramos.
We're still calling him alleged gunman? Are you serious? Look, this is standard procedure. Anytime you have any shooting or homicide case, you get warrants for everything. You get warrants for cell phones, cars, homes, where they work, their office space, their lockers, if they have a storage place. You get warrants for everything. So the fact that they're doing a warrant on a cell phone is pretty standard. It's pretty routine. Evidently, they gave it to their sharpest and crack, top-notch Texas Ranger, and here's the warrant he screwed up.
The search warrant describes how two witnesses observed the suspected teenage gunman dressed completely in black outside Robb Elementary, who proceeded to load a long rifle with a magazine and fire multiple gunshots in their direction before approaching the school and shooting towards the building. When law enforcement ultimately made their way in, they discovered multiple casualties.
Waited for over an hour for a freaking key. Are you kidding me?
Throughout the
so here's where I thought I read somewhere there were casualties throughout the hallways. So it sounds like he did engage. Again, I'm going to go over this warrant completely. I think it's only 3 or 4 pages. I'll do it after this.
Before exchanging gunfire with Ramos and shooting him dead. An iPhone 13 Pro Max.
So he's got all this money to buy all these guns, and he's got the new iPhone 13 Pro. He's got the same phone. Actually, he's got a better phone. I don't have the Max. He's got the same phone I got. And I was like, damn, can I afford this? This guy's buying guns, ammo. I mean, how does he get the money, people? I know the conspiracy guy. The government gave it to him. I'm not there. But I would like to know in the investigation where the hell, what he paid for. We have receipts. We know where he went. There's videotape of him buying this shit. All that should be easy in the investigation. The problem is, because this isn't going to court, investigators don't do a thorough job. They get lackadaisical. They're like, we're just doing it for show anyway. We don't need that. It's not like we're going to court. It's not like we're trying to get a conviction. The guy's dead. And that's why you get shitty investigations when the guy's dead, which is a disservice to the public, we the people, because we're paying for it. And we ought to know what you're capable of and whether you can do a good investigation just because the guy's dead. It's bullshit. See, normally they want to go, we can't share it, ongoing investigation, blah, blah. We don't have to worry about ongoing investigation because the guy's dead. This isn't for a criminal case. They ought to be releasing everything.
Body. Investigators performed a forensic download of the device to search for any and all data on the phone, from text messages to photos, videos, and voice messages that may provide clues to the shooter's motive for the horrific crime. We should mention there was a glaring mistake in the search warrant paper.
A mistake? Oh my God! Tell me it isn't so! Government made a mistake? I thought they were so good, and if we just listen to them, we'll be safe, and if we give them our guns, they'll keep us... They made a mistake? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Shocking.
Paperwork, the Texas Ranger who filed it included a paragraph that appeared to be cut and pasted from a different warrant, naming a completely different suspect in a completely different case, a human smuggling case. It's just one more item added to the growing list of issues in this
good for them.
Investigation.
I'm finally glad that media is actually calling out the incompetent government. Our media is supposed to be our watchdog for government. Our media is supposed to hold our government accountable. Our media is supposed to keep us informed so our government doesn't become tyrannical, incompetent, and wasting our money. Gee, good job, media, because you stopped all that, didn't you? So one of my great viewers sent me a copy of the active shooter response for law enforcement that's being taught by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. So all Texas cops has this document. I'm going to go through this document. I'm also going to give you a link. I added it to my public page on my Google account, so anybody and everybody can review this, and you'll know what's being taught. And you're going to be surprised if you watch the video between me and Officer Tatum where I evaluated his stance, where he said they should have waited. You're going to see that the training they got absolutely goes against what he said and it pretty much goes in line with what I said. Not tooting my horn, saying I'm great and smart and all this crap. I'm just telling you, I was pretty confident in where I stood on this case from the beginning, and a lot of people are giving me shit because I somehow challenged Officer Tatum, and I'm a mean, bad guy, and how dare I, and he loves the cops, and I hate the cops, and, you know, all this bullshit excuses. So I'm going to go over this, and I'll give you a link to the document. And I'm going to end this video with words from a brother from another mother, and I agree 100% on what he's saying. Amen to him.
To the 30-plus fucking cops who stood outside the school dressed all tactical pretty like claiming hero status, holding parents back from getting their kids because you did nothing for over 40 minutes while children were being murdered. Your problem wasn't lack of equipment, it was lack of fucking spine.
Amen. And any cop defending these guys under the ruse of they were following orders, it was a hostage negotiation, they were following procedure because it turned into a hostage, and he was in a room with kids and they heard shots fired 6 damn times while they stood in a hallway, safety, officer safety, with vests, guns, and equipment, and they were waiting for backup. They're freaking cowards, every one of them, and they don't even have the balls to come out now and say, I made a mistake, I was wrong, I'm sorry, I apologize. I failed the public, and I failed those helpless kids. They don't have to call themselves a pussy. I'll do that. But they ought to at least come out and apologize for what they did. We'll end that there. I'll do the videos on the active shooter training and on the search warrant. Y'all have a good one.